The science of getting rich. What if wealth was not luck, not talent, not background, but a science? What if there were specific mental laws, emotional patterns, and behavioral principles that consistently separate people who struggle financially from those who create abundance almost effortlessly? Most people spend their lives chasing money, while unknowingly operating with thoughts that repel it. They work harder, worry more, sacrifice peace, and still remain trapped in cycles of limitation. Meanwhile, others seem to attract opportunities, influence, freedom, and financial expansion with completely different mindset. This audiobook is not about fantasy, empty motivation, or wishful thinking. It is about understanding how thoughts shape behavior, how behavior shapes results, and how internal conditioning silently determines financial outcomes. You will discover why scarcity thinking keeps people poor, how emotional energy affects decision-making, why clarity creates momentum, and how disciplined imagination becomes a practical force for wealth creation. Riches are not reserved for the lucky. They are built by people who learn how to think, act, and create differently. The science begins within. Chapter 1. Wealth begins in the mind. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford. There's a silent voice living inside you, not the loud voice you use when speaking to people, not the mask you wear when the world is watching. The real voice, the one that whispers when the bills arrive, the one that tightens your chest when you see success in someone else, the one that tells you what you deserve and what you do not. That voice has been shaping your financial life for years. Long before money touched your hands, money touched your mind. And this is where the truth crashes through the wall like thunder. Wealth is never born in the wallet first. It is born in identity. A poor mind can stand inside a mansion and still feel trapped. A rich mind can stand in an empty room and still see possibility burning in the air. Because wealth is not paper. It is perception. It is emotional conditioning. It is belief hardened into behavior. You were not born fearing money. You learned it. Somewhere along the road, the world handed you invisible chains, quiet little sentences, sharp little wounds dressed as normal conversation. Money is hard to get. People like us never become rich. Be realistic. Don't dream too big. Those words did not merely enter your ears. They entered your nervous system. They settled into your muscles, your choices, your expectations. And over time, they became your financial thermostat. You stopped reaching beyond what felt familiar, not because you lacked ability, because your identity refused to let you rise higher than your internal story. That is how the trap works. The prison is psychological before it becomes physical. A person can crave abundance with their mouth while rejecting it with their subconscious mind. They can chase success during the day and sabotage themselves at night through fear, guilt, hesitation, and self-doubt. Then they wonder why nothing changes. But your life does not move toward what you want. It moves toward what you believe you deserve. Feel that, because the moment you understand this, the smoke begins to clear. Your thoughts are not harmless little clouds drifting through your skull. They are electrical instructions. Your brain listens to repetition. Your nervous system obeys emotional patterns. The images you hold in your mind begin shaping the decisions you make without realizing it. A fearful mind sees obstacles. A trained mind sees openings. Two people can stand in the exact same storm. One collapses. The other builds a fire from the wreckage. Same world, different conditioning. And conditioning can be rewritten. That is your power, not someday. Now, the human brain is alive, flexible, adaptive. Every repeated thought carves pathways into mind like water cutting through stone. The more you think a thought, the more natural it feels. The more natural it feels, the more automatic your behavior becomes. This is why some people panic around opportunity. Their mind has rehearsed fear for years. This is why others move with calm certainty. Their inner world has been trained for expansion. Your outer life is a mirror. If scarcity dominates your internal dialogue, you will unconsciously cling to smallness. You will hesitate when action is needed. You will settle for crumbs while hungering for a feast. Not because you are weak, because your identity is trying to protect what feels familiar. The mind loves familiarity more than freedom. Even pain can become comfortable when repeated long enough. That is why people stay trapped in jobs that drain their spirit, why they tolerate limitation, why they shrink their dreams to fit the opinions of frightened people. The cage becomes home. But there comes a moment in every life when something inside begins to revolt. A spark, a refusal, a deep inner knowing that you were built for more than survival. That moment matters. Because wealth begins the second your self-image changes. Not when the money arrives, before it arrives. A person who sees themselves as powerless will destroy opportunity with hesitation. A person who sees themselves as capable begins moving differently before the results even appear. They speak differently, walk differently, choose differently. Their energy changes, and energy changes outcomes. You can feel this in people instantly. Some enter a room carrying invisible defeat. Others walk in with quiet certainty, like a flame that refuses to go out. That certainty is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the mind and the future moving in the same direction. Right now, there are ideas sleeping inside you that have never been fully trusted. There is courage buried beneath years of doubt. There is vision trapped beneath old emotional debris. But buried does not mean dead. The fire still lives there. You know it does. You have felt it during moments when your spirit suddenly expanded beyond your current reality. Moments when you caught a glimpse of the person you could become if fear stopped sitting at the steering wheel of your life. That version of you is real. Not fantasy, not illusion. Potential is not imaginary. It is unreleased power, and power demands responsibility. You cannot feed your mind poison every day and expect abundance to grow from it. You cannot spend hours drowning in negativity, comparison, fear, and hopelessness while expecting confidence to suddenly appear. The mind absorbs whatever you repeatedly expose it to. Your environment matters. Your conversations matter. Your focus matters. Every day, your brain is collecting evidence about who you think you are. If you constantly speak defeat, your nervous system memorizes weakness. If you repeatedly speak strength, possibility, discipline, and purpose, your mind begins building a new internal reality. This is not magic. It is mental construction. Brick by brick, thought by thought, choice by choice. The wealthiest people in the world understand something most people never fully grasp. Attention is currency. Whatever dominates your focus eventually shapes your identity. Focus on fear long enough, and fear becomes your home. Focus on vision long enough, and the future begins pulling you forward like gravity. That is why your inner dialogue must change. Not fake positivity. Not empty affirmations repeated without emotion. Truth. You must begin speaking to yourself like someone preparing for elevation. You must stop introducing weakness into your own nervous system. The world already throws enough doubt at you. Do not become your own enemy. There is nothing noble about shrinking, nothing honorable about burying your gifts beneath insecurity. You were not built to crawl through life apologizing for your ambition. You were built to create, to expand, to rise. And the rise starts in the mind. Right there, in the private conversations nobody hears. The way you interpret failure, the way you respond to pressure, the meaning you attach to setbacks. Some people experience rejection and decide they are worthless. Others experience rejection and sharpen themselves like steel against stone. One breaks, one rebuilds. Your interpretation creates your reality. This is why two people can live through the same hardship and emerge completely different. One becomes bitter, the other becomes unstoppable. Pain itself does not define you. Meaning does. So, from this moment forward, stop calling yourself limited. Stop rehearsing weakness. Stop speaking as though struggle is your permanent identity. You are not chained to your past conditioning. You are not the frightened voice you inherited. You are the architect now. And every new thought is a hammer striking against the old walls. Every bold action is a crack in the prison. Every disciplined choice is proof that a new identity is being born. This is the beginning of wealth, not money in the bank, power in the mind. Because once the mind changes, behavior changes. Once behavior changes, standards change. Once standards change, results begin moving, slowly at first, then suddenly, like dawn breaking after a violent night. The world responds differently to people who believe in their own capacity. Opportunity notices them. People trust them. Momentum follows them. Not because life became easier, because their internal world became stronger. And strength changes everything. So stand guard at the gates of your mind. Protect your vision like fire in a storm. Feed your thoughts with purpose. Feed your spirit with possibility. Feed your future with disciplined belief. Because the life you want is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for alignment. And the moment your mind and your future finally move as one, your entire world begins to shift. Chapter 2. The Law of Definite Purpose. People do not wander around and then find themselves at the top of Mount Everest. Zig Ziglar. Most people drift through life like leaves trapped in a violent river, pulled by pressure, dragged by fear, thrown around by circumstances they never chose. They wake up without direction, work without fire, spend years reacting instead of building. Then one day they look into the mirror and feel the weight of a terrifying question pressing against their chest. How did my life end up here? That question burns because deep down, the soul knows when it's been wandering. Your mind was never built for aimless living. It was built for pursuit, for mission, for creation, for a target so clear it pulls you forward through exhaustion, doubt, and resistance. Without purpose, human energy scatters like sparks in the wind. Attention leaks into distractions. Time dissolves into meaningless routines. Days blur together. A person begins surviving instead of directing their own existence. That is why vague dreams create weak lives. I want more money. I want success. I want a better future. Those are not decisions. They are fog. And fog never moves mountains. The mind demands precision. Your brain is a filter machine. Every second, millions of pieces of information fight for your attention. Yet your nervous system only brings forward what matches your dominant focus. This is why a person suddenly notices opportunities connected to what they obsess over. Their inner target changes what they see. The world did not suddenly create new doors. Their focus exposed doors that were already there. That changes everything. Because if your dominant focus is fear, struggle, limitation, and survival, your brain becomes a guard dog for scarcity. It scans a world looking for proof that life is hard. It notices obstacles first, rejection first, risk first. The mind obeys its mission, and if you give it no mission, it defaults to fear. That is the hidden disaster destroying millions of lives. Not lack of talent, lack of direction. A person without a definite purpose becomes emotionally available to every distraction on earth. Noise pulls them apart. Social pressure bends them. Trends control them. They wake up busy but empty, exhausted but unfulfilled. Motion without direction creates frustration. A spinning tire burns energy too. Yet the car goes nowhere. You can feel this truth in your own body. Think about the moments when you felt most alive. The moments your spirit carried intensity. Your focus sharpened. Fatigue disappeared. Time moved differently. You were no longer dragging yourself through life. You were locked in. That state changes a human being. Purpose electrifies the nervous system. It wakes sleeping parts of the mind. Suddenly, discipline stops feeling like punishment. Sacrifice gains meaning. Obstacles lose their power to crush you because your eyes remain fixed on something greater than temporary discomfort. A person with purpose can absorb pain that would break an aimless soul because purpose gives suffering direction, and direction creates endurance. Look carefully at the people who build extraordinary lives. They are not merely working harder than everyone else. They are emotionally connected to a future that feels real inside their mind before it becomes visible in the physical world. They see it, feel it, carry it. That inner picture becomes magnetic. The brain begins organizing behavior around that image. Decisions sharpen. Focus intensifies. Habits start aligning with the future instead of fighting against it. This is why your goals cannot remain weak little wishes floating through your imagination like smoke. A wish has no backbone. Purpose does. A wish says, I hope things improve. Purpose says, I know where I'm going. Feel the difference in your chest. One is passive. Point one moves like fire through dry wood. The people who change their financial reality become brutally clear about what they want. They stop speaking in vague emotional fog. They define the future with precision. How much wealth do you want? What kind of life are you building? Who are you becoming? What will your mornings feel like? What standards will govern your actions? What pain are you finally done tolerating? These questions matter because confusion weakens human energy. The mind burns power when it lacks direction. But the second clarity appears, internal resistance begins collapsing. The target sharpens the weapon. And your attention is a weapon. Right now, your life reflects whatever has held your dominant focus for years. If survival has been your focus, your decisions have probably been built around avoiding pain instead of creating expansion. If fear has dominated your thoughts, your actions have likely stayed small enough to feel emotionally safe. Safe, that dangerous little word. Safety has buried more dreams than failure ever could. The hunger for comfort keeps people trapped inside lives that suffocate them slowly. They stay where they are because uncertainty feels frightening. Yet every powerful future demands walking into unknown territory with conviction burning in your chest. No great life is built from emotional hiding. You must choose your direction with force. Not casually, not timidly, like a warrior choosing the hill worth bleeding for. Because once your purpose becomes emotionally real, your entire body begins changing around it. Your energy rises. Your focus sharpens. Your tolerance for distraction weakens. Your standards rise because your future finally matters more than temporary comfort. This is where wealth truly begins taking shape. Not in the bank account first. In the decision. A real decision carries weight. It closes escape routes. It cuts ties with mediocrity. It says, "This is a life I am building, and I will not betray that vision with weak habits and confused thinking." That level of clarity rewires behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. You can watch this happen in ordinary moments. A person with no clear future wastes hours drowning in nonsense, scrolling endlessly, reacting emotionally to every little thing. But a person connected to purpose treats time differently. They feel the value of each hour in their bones. Purpose creates urgency, not panic. Urgency. The difference is massive. Panic is chaotic energy. Urgency is directed fire. A focused person wakes up with internal momentum. Their actions carry intention. Even small decisions begin stacking like bricks into a larger future. That is how empires rise. One aligned action at a time. And alignment matters more than intensity. People burn themselves out trying to force motivation through sheer emotion. But real momentum comes from emotional connection. When the future feels deeply personal, action stops feeling forced. You stop pushing yourself constantly. The vision pulls you forward. That pull is powerful. You feel it when your purpose becomes tied to something deeper than money alone. Money without emotional meaning burns out fast. A person chasing cash without purpose eventually feels hollow, no matter how much they earn. But when wealth becomes connected to freedom, contribution, dignity, peace, family, creation, impact, the fire strengthens. Now your goals carry soul, and the soul does not tire easily. This is why you must protect your vision from weak voices. Small-minded people attack clear purpose because it exposes their own hesitation. Your ambition reminds them of the life they abandoned inside themselves. Do not shrink to soothe insecure people. Do not dilute your future to fit someone else's fear. The graveyard is full of invisible greatness buried beneath social approval. Stand apart. Yes, some people will misunderstand you. Let them. The lion does not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep trembling in the shadows. Your future requires emotional courage. Because once you become definite about your purpose, life starts testing your commitment immediately. Distractions appear. Delays arrive. Fear rises from the basement of your subconscious mind demanding retreat. This is the moment most people fold. Not because the dream was impossible, because their conviction was weak. Weak purpose collapses under pressure. Strong purpose grows teeth. So when resistance comes, and it will, you must remember why you started. You must reconnect to the future you saw in your mind when your spirit was burning with certainty. Hold that image. Feed it daily. Speak to it. Move toward it, even when progress feels slow. The mountain does not fear slow footsteps. It fears standing still. Your purpose is not meant to stay trapped in imagination. It demands embodiment, daily alignment, repeated action. Your future is shaped by what you repeatedly do after the motion fades. That is where power lives, not in hype, in consistency. Anyone can feel inspired for a moment. Few people remain loyal to their vision long enough to see reality bend around it. Be one of the few. Wake up with intention. Walk with intention. Think with intention. Stop throwing your life into random directions and expecting greatness to appear by accident. Nothing powerful grows from confusion. Clarity creates force. And once your mind locks onto a purpose strong enough to stir your blood, your life begins moving with a different rhythm. Your eyes sharpen. Your standards rise. Your future stops feeling distant. It starts feeling inevitable. That is a law of definite purpose. A human being with clear direction becomes dangerous to limitation, because once the soul chooses a destination with absolute conviction, the body begins marching toward it like thunder. Chapter 3. Thoughts become financial reality. You become what you think about all day long. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Inside your mind, there's a furnace burning every hour of every day. It never sleeps, never rests, never stops shaping your future. Your thoughts feed that furnace. And whatever you repeatedly throw into the fire becomes a heat that drives your life forward or burns your potential to ash. Most people never realize this. They treat thoughts like passing smoke, random little whispers floating through the brain with no real consequence. But thoughts are not harmless. They carry emotional voltage. They shape chemistry. They bend behavior. They train the nervous system to expect certain outcomes. A fearful thought repeated long enough becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. That is why two people can wake up with the same talent, the same opportunities, even the same education, yet end up living completely different lives. One trains their mind to move toward possibility. The other trains their mind to retreat from risk. One builds point, one freezes. The difference begins in thought. You must understand this with absolute clarity. Your brain is listening to you all the time. Every sentence you repeat becomes instruction. Every mental picture becomes rehearsal. Your subconscious mind absorbs repetition, like wet concrete taking footprints. If you constantly think, I'm behind, your body begins operating from panic. If you constantly think, nothing ever works for me, your nervous system prepares for disappointment before action even begins. If you constantly think, I'm capable of building more, your energy changes. Your posture changes. Your tolerance for discomfort rises. The body follows the dominant command. That is why negative thinking destroys financial progress long before money disappears. A person trapped in fear cannot think clearly. Fear narrows perception. It creates hesitation, overthinking, emotional paralysis. A fearful mind turns tiny obstacles into massive walls. You have seen this happen. Someone gets rejected once and suddenly stops trying. Someone loses money and now avoids every opportunity. Someone gets laughed at and buries their ambition beneath fake humility. The wound becomes a lens. Then life starts shrinking around that emotional pattern. Fear-based thinking creates a prison without visible bars. And the terrifying part is this. The prisoner starts defending the prison. They call it realism. They say things like, I'm just being practical. No, they are rehearsing defeat. A mind addicted to worst case scenarios cannot create wealth. It scans a horizon for danger instead of possibility. It chokes action before momentum can build. It treats uncertainty like death. But every breakthrough in human history was born through uncertainty. Every business, every invention, every fortune. Nobody reaches higher ground while chained to fear. That chain must break, and it breaks through awareness first. You must begin catching your thoughts like a warrior guarding the gates of a city under attack. Because not every thought deserves your trust. Some thoughts were inherited from wounded people. Some were built during painful moments when your confidence was shattered. Some came from years of criticism, comparison, and emotional survival. Those thoughts are not sacred truth. They are conditioning. And conditioning can be rewritten. This is where mental rehearsal changes everything. The mind cannot fully distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly visualize success with emotional intensity, your nervous system begins adapting to that future internally before it appears externally. Athletes know this. Performers know this. Visionaries know this. They rehearse victory before the world ever sees the outcome. Close your eyes and picture a future where you move with confidence, where money flows through disciplined action and clear thinking, where opportunities no longer intimidate you, where your habits align with your ambitions, where your decisions carry calm certainty instead of emotional chaos. Feel it, not casually. Fully, the brain responds to emotional imagery. Emotion stamps experience into the nervous system like fire-branding steel. That is why traumatic memories feel so powerful. Emotion burned them deep into the mind. The same force can build your future. When you repeatedly feed your mind images of expansion, capability, and abundance, your behavior begins shifting beneath the surface. Your subconscious starts treating success as familiar instead of foreign, and familiarity changes action. A person who mentally rehearses confidence walks into rooms differently. They speak with more certainty. They recover faster from setbacks. They stop treating opportunity like danger. This matters because wealth is deeply emotional. Money amplifies identity. If your subconscious mind associates wealth with stress, guilt, betrayal, or fear, you'll unconsciously push money away no matter how badly you claim to want it. That inner conflict destroys people. Consciously, they desire abundance. Subconsciously, they fear what abundance represents. So they sabotage themselves, delay action, waste opportunities, retreat at the exact moment courage is required. The war is internal first. Always, your financial life mirrors your emotional conditioning with brutal honesty. A person who believes they are powerless behaves differently from a person who believes they can create change. One waits, the other acts. One hesitates endlessly, the other learns through movement. Action reveals belief, and beliefs are built through repetition. This is why your daily mental habits matter more than occasional motivation. A single powerful moment means nothing if your everyday thoughts continue poisoning your confidence. The mind feeds on consistency. Every day you repeat weakness, you strengthen weakness. Every day you rehearse courage, you strengthen courage. The brain adapts to whatever environment you create internally. Read that again, because this means you are not trapped by your current thinking patterns. Your mind is not concrete. It is clay, living clay, shaped through focus, repetition, emotion, and experience. That is power, real power, not fake motivational noise, shouted into the air for temporary excitement. Real inner reconstruction, the kind that changes how you breathe under pressure, the kind that changes your standards, the kind that changes what you tolerate from yourself. And that change starts small, a new thought, a new response, a new internal command. You begin replacing self-doubt with self-direction, replacing emotional panic with calm focus, replacing the habit of shrinking with the habit of stepping forward, brick by brick. The greatest danger is not failure. It is unconscious repetition, because repetition creates identity silently. A person can spend years reinforcing destructive patterns without realizing it, complaining daily, expecting disappointment daily, speaking weakness daily. Then they wonder why life feels heavy. The mind believes what it hears most. So stop feeding your future with poison. Stop speaking like someone already defeated. Your words carry weight inside your nervous system. Even jokes shape identity. Even casual self-insults leave fingerprints on the subconscious mind. The brain records emotional language with frightening precision. Protect your internal dialogue fiercely. You are training your future with every thought. And here is the beautiful part. The moment your thinking changes consistently, your perception changes too. Suddenly, opportunities become visible. Ideas arrive faster. Confidence expands. You begin taking actions that once felt impossible because your identity is no longer chained to old emotional programming. This is how people rise, not through magic, through mental conditioning repeated with conviction. The wealthy mind does not deny difficulty. It simply refuses to worship it. It does not collapse at obstacles. It searches for openings, solutions, angles, possibilities. That mindset creates momentum, And momentum creates power. You can feel when a person has trained their thoughts well. There is steadiness in them, calm intensity. Their presence carries direction. Even during uncertainty, they move with internal order instead of emotional chaos. That stability becomes magnetic. People trust certainty. Opportunity follows energy, and energy follows thought. Everything connects. Your repeated thoughts become emotional states. Emotional states become behaviors. Behaviors become habits. Habits become outcomes. That cycle is shaping your life right now, whether you notice it or not. So choose your thoughts with intention. Feed your mind images that strengthen you. Speak words that sharpen you. Visualize the future until your nervous system stops treating greatness like a stranger. See yourself rising before the world sees it. Train your mind to expect expansion instead of disaster. Train your spirit to move before fear finishes speaking. Because the future does not belong to the person who thinks about success once in a while. It belongs to the person who builds success internally until action becomes unavoidable. That is a secret hidden inside the human mind. Thoughts become emotional fire. Emotional fire becomes movement. Movement becomes reality. And the moment your inner world stops rehearsing limitation, your outer world begins changing shape like iron beneath heat. Chapter 4. Gratitude, the hidden multiplier of wealth. Wear gratitude like a cloak, and will feed every corner of your life. Rumi, there are people with full bank accounts who still live in emotional poverty. And there are people with very little who radiate peace, certainty, and magnetic energy like a fire refusing to die in the rain. That truth unsettles the world. Because most people chase wealth believing money alone will heal the emptiness inside them. They believe the next promotion, the next number in the account, the next purchase, the next victory will finally quiet the restless ache in their chest. But hunger without gratitude becomes a bottomless pit. No amount is enough that NO success feels complete. NO achievement lasts. The mind keeps whispering, more, more, more. And eventually the soul becomes exhausted from carrying desire without peace. That is why gratitude changes everything. Not as a polite little ritual. Not as fake positivity painted over pain. Real gratitude is power. It changes the chemistry of the human body. It steadies the nervous system. It shifts perception. It pulls your attention away from emotional starvation and reconnects you to strength, possibility, and presence. A grateful mind sees differently, and what you see shapes how you live. Most people walk through life emotionally blind because their focus is trapped on what is missing. They stare at lack so intensely that abundance passes by unnoticed. Opportunities appear, but desperation clouds their vision. Relationships weaken. Creativity shrinks. Confidence erodes. Scarcity thinking poisons perception. A person consumed by dissatisfaction becomes emotionally heavy. You can feel it around them. Their energy tightens every room they enter. Nothing satisfies them because their mind has been trained to worship absence. What is absent controls them more than what is present. That emotional state destroys judgment. A desperate person makes rushed decisions, emotional decisions, fear-driven decisions. They chase quick money, quick validation, quick relief. They cling to outcomes with trembling hands because internally they feel empty, and empty people panic easily. Gratitude interrupts that panic. It brings oxygen back into the mind. When you genuinely appreciate where you are while still reaching for more, something powerful happens inside your nervous system. Pressure softens. Vision sharpens. You stop acting like a starving soul fighting for crumbs. You begin moving with steadiness. That steadiness creates better choices. And better choices create wealth. Read that again. Because gratitude is not passive. It does not kill ambition. It purifies ambition. It removes emotional poison from the pursuit. It keeps hunger from becoming self-destruction. A grateful person can still desire expansion fiercely. They can still build, create, achieve, and conquer mountains. But their spirit is no longer chained to emotional desperation. That changes the quality of their energy completely. There is calm strength in them, like deep water beneath a storm. You need that strength because the road to wealth tests emotional stability constantly. Delays happen. Failures happen. Pressure comes in waves. And if your emotional state collapses every time life tightens its grip, you will sabotage your own future. Gratitude creates resilience, not weak optimism. Still, it reminds you that even during struggle, you still possess breath, awareness, ability, lessons, opportunities, movement, and the power to choose your next step. That awareness matters, because the human mind magnifies whatever it focuses on. Focus on pain long enough, and pain becomes identity. Focus on limitation long enough, and limitation becomes reality. But gratitude redirects a lens. Suddenly you notice what still remains instead of obsessing over what disappeared. You notice your strength returning, your discipline returning, your vision returning. And from that emotional state, action becomes cleaner. Think about the moments when you made your worst decisions. Chances are you were emotionally flooded, angry, desperate, fearful, bitter. Your perception narrowed. Your thinking lost balance. Emotion hijacked intelligence. Now think about moments when you felt grounded, grateful, and internally calm. Your decisions improved. Your patience improved. Your confidence became quieter but stronger. That is no accident. The emotional state of the mind shapes the quality of human behavior. A grateful mind does not waste energy complaining all day. It does not sit endlessly comparing itself to other people. Comparison is poison. It drains life from the spirit. It turns blessings invisible. The person constantly staring at someone else's success eventually loses connection with their own path. And once that connection breaks, dissatisfaction grows teeth. Social media has intensified this sickness. People scroll through edited fragments of strangers' lives and suddenly feel behind in their own existence. They begin measuring their worth against illusions. Their peace evaporates. That cycle destroys inner power, because gratitude cannot breathe inside constant comparison. You cannot build wealth while hating your current reality. You must learn to stand where you are without shrinking your future. That balance is rare. Most people swing between two extremes. Either they become complacent and stop striving, or they become consumed by dissatisfaction and lose their peace. The wealthy mind walks differently. It appreciates the present while building the future. That emotional balance creates magnetic energy. People trust grateful people. They enjoy being around them. Gratitude softens arrogance while strengthening confidence. It keeps success from turning toxic. And relationships matter deeply in wealth creation. Doors open through human connection. Trust, reputation, presence. Nobody wants to build with someone drowning in bitterness every day. Emotional heaviness repels opportunity. But gratitude creates warmth, not fake cheerfulness. Real, grounded warmth. You feel safe around people like that. Their energy steadies others instead of draining them. Even during pressure, they carry perspective. That perspective becomes a weapon in difficult seasons. Because life will hit you hard. There will be moments when plans collapse without warning. Moments when the numbers shrink. Moments when fear pounds against your ribs at 3 a.m, demanding surrender. Gratitude becomes light during those seasons. Not because it erases pain, because it stops pain from swallowing your identity whole. A grateful person says, "This moment hurts, but I am still standing." That sentence carries force. It shifts the nervous system from helplessness to strength, and strength changes outcomes. You must train yourself to see life through this lens daily, not once in a while. Daily. Your mind learns through repetition. Gratitude is mental conditioning, just like fear is mental conditioning. The more you practice appreciation, the more naturally your brain begins scanning for possibility instead of lack. You start noticing opportunities you ignored before. A conversation, an idea, a connection, a solution. The grateful mind stays open, and openness creates expansion. This is why some people rise after devastating setbacks, while others collapse permanently. One mind searches for meaning, lessons, and remaining strength. The other mind obsesses over loss until hopelessness becomes identity. Your focus feeds your future, so feed it wisely. Wake up each day remembering that your life still contains power. Your mind still works. Your body still breathes. Your future has not been erased. The fire inside you still exists even if it has been buried beneath exhaustion and disappointment. That realization alone can reignite a human being. Gratitude is not weakness. It is emotional mastery. It is a refusal to let darkness blind you to light that still remains. And here is the beautiful truth most people never fully grasp. Gratitude multiplies wealth because it multiplies awareness. A grateful person notices value everywhere. They learn faster, connect deeper, think clearer, act steadier. Their emotional atmosphere becomes fertile ground for creativity and discipline. Their mind stops leaking energy through constant frustration. That reclaimed energy becomes momentum. Momentum becomes action. Action becomes results. Everything connects. So tonight, before sleep pulls you under, pause for a moment, not to beg life for more, not to complain about what is missing. Pause to recognize what still burns within you, the lessons, the strength, the survival, the breath, the vision that refuses to die. Feel it fully, because the person who can stand in the middle of uncertainty with gratitude still alive in their chest becomes almost impossible to break, and a person who cannot be broken eventually rises. Chapter 5. The creative mind versus the competitive mind. The best way to compete is to create. Peter Thiel. There are two kinds of people moving through the world. The first spends life looking sideways. The second spends life looking forward. One burns energy watching others. The other builds energy creating something new. One lives in comparison. The other lives in contribution. And that difference changes everything. The competitive mind wakes up already tense. It measures worth against other people's success. It scrolls endlessly, studies endlessly, compares endlessly. Every victory someone else achieves feels like a personal loss. That mindset poisons the spirit, because comparison turns life into a cage with invisible walls. No matter how far you rise, somebody will always have more money, more attention, more influence, more applause. If your peace depends on outrunning everyone else, peace will never arrive. The finish line keeps moving, and exhausted people make weak decisions. You can feel the emotional weight of this kind of living, the jealousy, the insecurity, the silent panic hidden beneath fake confidence. A person trapped in competition starts copying instead of thinking, reacting instead of creating. They stop listening to their own instincts because they are hypnotized by what everyone else is doing. That is how originality dies. The world does not reward copies for long. It rewards value, real value, the kind born from courage, imagination, observation, and usefulness. The kind created by people who stop obsessing over the crowd long enough to hear their own deeper intelligence. That is a creative mind. The creative mind does not ask, how do I beat everyone? It asks, how do I build something meaningful? Feel the difference. One question creates anxiety. The other creates expansion. The competitive mind operates from fear of scarcity. It believes there is not enough success to go around, not enough money, not enough opportunity. So it clenches, grasps, protects, attacks, like a starving animal fighting over scraps. But the creative mind sees life differently. It understands that wealth grows through creation, through solving problems, through improving lives, through bringing something useful into the world that did not exist before. Creation expands the table. Competition fights over seats at the table. That truth alone can shift your entire financial destiny. Because once your focus moves from proving yourself to serving powerfully, your energy changes. Desperation fades. Curiosity rises. Innovation awakens. You stop trying to win against people and start building things that matter. That mindset attracts opportunity naturally. Look closely at the people who create lasting wealth. They are builders, thinkers, problem solvers. They notice frustration in the world and ask, how can this be done better? That question creates fortunes. Every successful business, invention, movement, or breakthrough began with someone seeing a problem and refusing to accept it as permanent, while others complained they created. That is the difference. The competitive mind complains about the storm. The creative mind builds a ship. And here's the beautiful part. Creativity is not reserved for artists or geniuses. Creativity is human nature. It lives inside every person willing to think beyond fear. A cleaner can clean creatively. A teacher can teach creatively. A business owner can solve problems creatively. Creativity is not about perfection. It is about possibility. But fear suffocates possibility. A person obsessed with competition becomes mentally rigid. They start playing defense all the time, protecting status, protecting ego, protecting appearance. They stop taking bold risks because they fear looking foolish. And fear kills innovation before it breathes. The creative mind accepts imperfection. It experiments, adjusts, learns through movement. It understands that failure is not humiliation. It is feedback carved in fire. That mindset creates momentum. The competitive mind waits for validation before acting. The creative mind acts before applause arrives. That takes courage, because the crowd rarely understands vision at the beginning. People celebrate success after it becomes obvious. Before that, they criticize it, mock it, question it, or ignore it completely. You must become strong enough to create without immediate approval. That strength separates leaders from followers. Most people are trapped in emotional survival mode. They spend their lives trying to look successful instead of becoming useful. But usefulness creates wealth far faster than image ever will. Think about it. Who earns more in the long run? The person trying desperately to impress people, or the person obsessed with solving painful problems? The answer is obvious. Value creates demand. Demand creates wealth. And value comes from contribution. This is why the creative mind carries a different emotional atmosphere. It is energized by ideas instead of consumed by envy. It studies opportunities instead of stalking competitors. It asks better questions. How can I improve this? What pain can I remove? What can I create that makes people's lives easier, stronger, faster, safer, or better? Questions shape destiny. Small questions create small lives. Creative questions stretch the brain beyond limitation. And your brain changes physically when you think this way. Curiosity activates different emotional states than fear. Creativity opens perception. It increases mental flexibility. It pulls the nervous system out of contraction and into expansion. That shift matters deeply, because contracted people cannot think powerfully. Fear narrows vision. Creation expands it. This is why jealousy is so dangerous. Jealousy traps attention on other people's lives instead of your own mission. It drains emotional energy that could have been used to build something meaningful. Every minute spent envying someone is a minute stolen from your own future. Stop giving your life away like that. Your path requires your full attention. And your path is different from everyone else's anyway. Different gifts, different experiences, different vision, different timing. You weaken yourself trying to become a copy of another human being. The world already has them. It needs you sharpened into your highest form. That sharpening happens through creation, not imitation. A blacksmith does not forge steel by hiding it from heat. The metal enters fire again and again until strength is hammered into its structure. Your creativity works the same way. It strengthens through use. Use your ideas. Speak them. Build them. Test them. Refine them. Do not wait for certainty. Perfectionism is fear wearing expensive clothes. Some people spend years preparing, while their dreams slowly suffocate from inaction. Meanwhile, imperfect creators move forward, learn quickly, adapt, and gain momentum through experience. Movement beats hesitation every time. And movement creates confidence. Not fantasy confidence. Real confidence. The kind earned through action. The creative mind understands another truth most people miss. Money follows energy. People are drawn toward those who create solutions with passion and conviction. They feel that life force, that originality, that usefulness. It becomes magnetic. You do not need to scream for attention when your work carries value. The world eventually notices people who solve real problems consistently, but consistency matters. The creative mind is disciplined. It does not wait endlessly for inspiration to fall from the sky. It trains itself to think deeply, observe carefully, and act repeatedly. It protects its mental space from noise and distraction because scattered attention weakens creative power. And the modern world is full of noise. Everyone shouting, everyone reacting, everyone chasing trends. Most people are mentally overcrowded. Their minds are packed with opinions, comparisons, fears, and endless stimulation. Creativity cannot breathe in mental chaos. Silence matters. Stillness matters. Some of your greatest ideas will arrive during moments when you step away from the noise long enough to hear yourself think again. That quiet space is sacred. Protect it fiercely, because your future may depend on one idea, one solution, one moment of courage powerful enough to change the direction of your life forever. Never underestimate what your mind can create once fear stops choking it. You carry more power than you realize, more imagination, more insight, more capability. But those gifts awaken fully only when you stop competing for scraps and start creating from purpose. That is where wealth expands, not through bitterness, not through envy, not through endless comparison, through contribution. The world rewards people who make life better, people who solve problems, people who bring order to chaos, light to confusion, motion to stagnation. Become one of those people. Train your mind to create instead of compare. Train your spirit to build instead of beg for validation. Train your eyes to spot possibility where others see limitation, because the competitive mind survives, but the creative mind changes worlds. Chapter 6. Action, the bridge between vision and wealth. The path to success is to take massive, determined action. Tony Robbins. A dream without action is smoke. Beautiful to look at for a moment, then gone. You can read every book, watch every video, fill notebooks with plans, speak endlessly about your future. None of it changes your life until movement begins. Wealth does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to execution, motion, pressure, repetition. That is where lives change. Some people stay trapped in preparation for years because preparation feels safe. Planning creates the illusion of progress without the risk of failure. A person can sit in a room imagining success and still avoid the terrifying moment where reality tests them. Action exposes truth. That is why so many people resist it. Because once you act, excuses lose their hiding place. Results begin speaking. Weak habits get exposed. Fear rises to the surface. The mind starts screaming warnings like a fire alarm in the middle of the night. What if you fail? What if people laugh? What if you are not good enough? Those thoughts feel real because your nervous system is wired for protection, not expansion. Your brain loves familiarity. Even painful familiarity feels safer than uncertain possibility. That is why people stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and routines that slowly bury their potential alive. The body clings to known pain, but wealth demands growth beyond emotional comfort. And growth feels violent at first, like steel entering fire, like lungs burning during a hard run, like standing at the edge of cold water, knowing you must jump. Action stretches identity. It forces your mind to meet a larger version of yourself. That process shakes people. Most retreat the moment discomfort arrives. They interpret resistance as a sign to stop. No, resistance is proof you are leaving the cage. Read that again. The moment you decide to move towards something greater, friction appears. Fear appears. Doubt appears. Delay appears. Your old identity fights for survival because it knows change will kill the familiar version of you. That internal battle is real. A person can desire wealth deeply and still sabotage progress unconsciously. They procrastinate, overthink, wait endlessly for confidence to arrive before taking action. Confidence never comes first. Action comes first. Then confidence follows. A child does not learn walking by studying balance for 10 years. The child falls, stumbles, crashes into furniture, gets embarrassed, tries again. Movement teaches mastery. Life works the same way. You cannot think your way into courage. Courage is built through repeated exposure to uncertainty. Every bold action sends a message into your nervous system. I can survive this. That message rewires identity. And identity controls behavior. This is why small actions matter so much. Tiny disciplined movements repeated daily reshape the brain more powerfully than emotional speeches ever will. One phone call, one application, one sales attempt, one workout, one investment, one difficult conversation. Brick by brick. That is how empires rise. Not through one magical moment, People love the fantasy of overnight success because it removes responsibility. But real wealth is built through consistency that survives emotion. The wealthy person does not act only when inspired. They act when tired, when uncertain, when unmotivated, when results feel slow. Discipline carries them where feelings cannot. That is power. Your feelings are weather. Your standards are architecture. One changes every hour. The other shapes your life. A person ruled by emotion becomes unstable. Productive one day, distracted the next, focused during excitement, frozen during fear. They wait for perfect conditions while years disappear. Perfect conditions do not exist. The storm never fully clears. Act anyway. The people who rise in life understand a brutal truth. Most avoid. Hesitation has a price. Delay drains momentum. Every postponed action weakens self-trust. Every broken promise to yourself damages identity. And self-trust is everything. If your own mind stops believing your words, execution becomes torture. You say you will start tomorrow. Tomorrow comes. Nothing happens. Again and again. Slowly, your nervous system learns that your declarations carry no weight. That destroys personal power. You rebuild that power through action. Not giant dramatic action at the beginning. Consistent action. Honest action. Repeated action. Action that trains your mind to trust you again. Because once self-trust returns, momentum becomes dangerous in the best possible way. A moving train is hard to stop. That is why starting matters more than intensity. Many people explode with motivation for 3 days, then disappear for 3 months. They sprint emotionally, then collapse mentally. Real builders understand rhythm, steady pressure, steady movement, steady execution. A river cuts through stone not through force alone, but through relentless repetition. Become relentless. Not loud, not flashy, relentless. There is another enemy hiding beneath procrastination, perfectionism. People call it high standards. Most of the time it is fear wearing a polished mask. They delay action because they want the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect skill set. Meanwhile, life keeps moving. Perfectionism kills dreams quietly, not through explosions, through endless postponement. The perfect business idea stays trapped in notebooks. The perfect book stays trapped in someone's head. The perfect future stays buried beneath hesitation. Done changes lives. Perfect changes nothing. You must accept being a beginner. Clumsy, imperfect, unpolished. Every master you admire once looked foolish. Every powerful speaker once trembled while talking. Every wealthy entrepreneur once made terrible decisions. Skill grows through contact with reality, not fantasy. And reality punches hard sometimes. You will fail. Good. Failure strips weakness from your thinking. It teaches precision. It burns away illusion. Failure introduces you to parts of yourself comfort could never reveal. Do not fear failure. Fear staying frozen. Fear reaching the end of your life, carrying unused strength in your bones. Fear becoming a spectator in your own existence. Fear watching others build the lives you secretly wanted while you remain trapped in analysis and excuses. That pain cuts deeper than temporary embarrassment ever will. Action creates clarity. People think clarity comes before movement. Wrong. Movement creates clarity. Once you begin, feedback arrives. You adjust, improve, adapt. Doors appear that were invisible before. Life responds to motion. A parked car cannot be steered. Move, even slowly, especially slowly if necessary, but move. The wealthy understand another truth about action. Energy expands through use. A person waiting to feel ready stays weak because unused energy decays. Action generates emotional fuel. Once momentum builds, the body and mind begin working together differently. Confidence rises. Creativity sharpens. Focus strengthens. The machine wakes up. You have felt this before. Remember moments when you finally stopped delaying and took action? Even tiny action? Something shifted inside you. The fog lifted. Your breathing changed. Your mind felt clearer. That is momentum entering your nervous system. Protect it fiercely. Momentum can build wealth. Momentum can build discipline. Momentum can rebuild an entire human life. But Momentum requires repetition. One action changes a day. Repeated action changes identity. That is the real goal, not temporary motivation. Identity change. You must become a person who executes, a person who finishes, a person who moves even when fear whispers against it. Once execution becomes part of your identity, wealth stops feeling distant. It becomes a byproduct of who you are becoming. And listen carefully, action is spiritual too, because action is faith made visible. Anybody can speak belief with their mouth. Action reveals what you truly believe in your bones. If you believe your future matters, you move. If you believe your dreams carry value, you move. If you believe your life has purpose, you move. Movement is belief in physical form. The universe responds differently to people who move with conviction. Opportunities gather around momentum. Connections appear. Ideas sharpen. Resources emerge. Doors open. Not magically, energetically. People trust movement. The world notices movement. Life bends toward movement. A stagnant person becomes invisible. A moving person creates gravity. So stop waiting for certainty. Certainty is a myth created by fearful minds trying to avoid pain. Every powerful decision carries uncertainty inside it. Every breakthrough begins with incomplete information. You learn by doing. You strengthen by doing. You rise by doing. Not later. Now. Because years from this moment, you will either stand in the fire of earned confidence or sit in the ashes of endless hesitation. The choice is being made daily through your actions or your excuses. And deep down, you already know which voice deserves to win. Chapter 7. Emotional Mastery and Financial Success. When awareness is brought to an emotion, power is brought to your life. Eckhart Tolle. Money flows through emotion long before it flows through numbers. That truth shocks people. They think financial struggle is only about income, opportunity, education, or luck. Those things matter. But beneath every financial decision lives an emotional state quietly steering behavior, like invisible hands gripping a wheel in the dark. Fear buys things it cannot afford. Insecurity overspends to impress strangers. Shame hides from opportunities. Impulse destroys years of progress in one reckless moment. A calm mind builds wealth. An unstable mind burns it down. You have seen this happen. People earn large amounts of money and still collapse financially because they never master themselves. Their emotions remain wild, undisciplined, hungry for escape. So even when success arrived, their inner chaos consumed it. Inner storms create outer wreckage. That is why emotional mastery sits at the center of lasting wealth, not temporary money. Lasting wealth, the kind that survives pressure, setbacks, criticism, delay, uncertainty, and fear. Because life will test you. There will be moments when business slows, investments fail, plans collapse, trusted people disappoint you, bills rise while confidence falls. Those moments expose emotional conditioning with brutal honesty. Pressure reveals who you really are. Some people panic under pressure. Their nervous system floods with fear. They make desperate choices just to escape discomfort. They sell too early, quit too quickly, spend emotionally, react impulsively. Emotion becomes the boss. And emotions make terrible leaders when left unchecked. Listen carefully. Emotions are not enemies. They are signals, messengers. Internal weather patterns try and tell you something about your thinking, beliefs, and nervous system. The problem begins when emotions control behavior instead of informing awareness. That distinction changes lives. A wealthy mind feels fear, but still acts wisely. A weak mind feels fear and obeys it immediately. That is the difference. Emotional maturity means creating space between feeling and reaction. It means refusing to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Most people never learn this. They react instantly to discomfort like a hand touching fire. Somebody insults them, they explode. The market drops, they panic. A deal fails, they spiral into hopelessness. No stability, no control, no center. But emotional control is trainable, like muscle, like breath, like steel forged through repeated heat. You strengthen emotionally by facing discomfort without collapsing inside it. Every challenge becomes training. Every setback becomes conditioning. Every difficult moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen your nervous system instead of surrendering to it. That is real power, not loud confidence, not fake positivity, inner steadiness. A person with emotional steadiness becomes dangerous in the best way because chaos no longer controls them. They think clearly while others panic. They stay grounded while others break apart emotionally. And clarity creates better decisions. A stressed mind cannot think sharply. Stress narrows perception. It pushes the brain into survival mode, where short-term relief becomes more attractive than long-term wisdom. That is why emotionally overwhelmed people sabotage themselves financially. They seek relief, not results, buying things to numb pain, avoiding responsibilities to escape anxiety, quitting too soon to avoid rejection. Short-term comfort steals long-term wealth. Every time, delayed gratification is one of the clearest signs of emotional intelligence. The ability to sacrifice immediate pleasure for future expansion separates builders from destroyers. Emotionally reactive people chase dopamine constantly. Quick pleasure, quick validation, quick distraction. They consume their future in small emotional bites. Meanwhile, disciplined people understand something deeper. Temporary discomfort is the price of permanent elevation. They can sit in uncertainty without self-destructing. They can wait patiently while building steadily. They do not need constant emotional rewards to stay committed. That restraint creates freedom, and restraint is rare. Modern culture trains emotional weakness. Endless stimulation, endless distraction, endless noise. People are conditioned to react instantly to every feeling. Angry? Post online. Sad? Escape into entertainment. Bored? Scroll endlessly. The nervous system never rests. A restless mind struggles to build wealth because wealth requires focus, patience, and emotional endurance. Big rewards rarely arrive instantly. Real success takes time, pressure, repetition, sacrifice. Emotionally fragile people abandon the process before the harvest arrives. Do not become one of them. Train yourself to stay steady when progress feels slow. Some seasons of life look barren on the surface, while roots are strengthening underground. You may not see immediate evidence that your efforts are working. Keep moving anyway. Faith matters here. Not blind fantasy, grounded faith. The kind built through disciplined action, repeated long enough for results to catch up. Emotional resilience grows when you stop demanding instant proof before continuing forward. Because life does not reward emotional impatience. It rewards endurance. The strongest people are not emotionless. That is another lie. They feel deeply. They simply refuse to drown in every emotion that enters their mind. They observe feelings without becoming prisoners of them. That takes awareness. You must start watching yourself honestly. Watch how you react to stress. Watch how you respond to rejection. Watch what happens emotionally when money feels tight. Those moments reveal conditioning hidden beneath the surface. Some people become aggressive when afraid. Others shut down completely. Some avoid reality. Others become controlling. Emotional patterns shape financial behavior more than intelligence ever will. A brilliant person with poor emotional control can destroy their life. A calm, disciplined person with average intelligence can build enormous wealth over time because consistency beats chaos every single time. And emotional intelligence affects relationships too. This matters deeply because wealth grows faster through strong human connections. Trust, communication, reliability, leadership, emotional maturity strengthens all of them. Nobody wants to build with someone emotionally unstable. Think about it. Would you trust your future with somebody who explodes under pressure? Somebody impulsive? Somebody controlled by ego? Of course not. Emotional control creates trust. Trust creates opportunity. The world opens doors for grounded people, not perfect people. Grounded people. There's another hidden truth inside emotional mastery. Self-awareness dissolves shame. Many people secretly carry shame around money. Shame from childhood struggles. Shame from failure. Shame from debt. Shame from not feeling successful enough. That shame poisons behavior quietly. People either hide from money completely or obsess over proving themselves through material things. Both paths create suffering. Shame distorts perception. It turns money into an emotional battlefield instead of a practical tool. You must heal that relationship. Money is not your identity. Your bank account is not your worth. A setback is not your destiny. Separate your value from temporary circumstances. That emotional separation creates freedom, and freedom creates better thinking. A calm person sees options a panicked person misses entirely. Emotional regulation widens perspective. It allows the brain to access creativity, logic, intuition, and strategic thinking at the same time. That mental state is powerful. You cannot build wealth effectively while trapped in constant emotional fire. So breathe, slow down your reactions, pause before responding emotionally to pressure. A single pause can save relationships, investments, businesses, and years of progress. Most destruction happens in emotional moments people fail to manage wisely. One impulsive decision, one emotional outburst, one panic reaction. Damage spreads quickly. But emotional mastery creates another kind of chain reaction too. Calm decisions create stability. Stability creates confidence. Confidence creates stronger action. Strong action creates better results. The cycle reverses. And slowly, your inner world becomes stronger than external chaos. That is when real confidence appears. Not arrogance, not performance. Real confidence. The kind rooted in self-control. The kind that says, I can face pressure without collapsing. That confidence becomes magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities move toward it. Life responds differently to people who carry inner steadiness instead of emotional turbulence. Because emotional mastery changes your energy completely. You stop leaking power through drama, fear, insecurity, and reaction. Your focus sharpens. Your decisions improve. Your relationships deepen. Your discipline strengthens. You become harder to shake. And listen, setbacks will still happen. Even strong people get hit by life. There will still be losses, disappointments, betrayals, delays, and painful seasons. Emotional mastery does not remove difficulty. It removes helplessness. That changes everything. A resilient person bends without breaking. They absorb impact and keep moving, like a tree rooted deep enough to survive violent storms. The wind screams. The branches strain, but the roots hold. Build roots like that, emotional roots, because wealth built on emotional instability eventually collapses under pressure. But wealth built on inner control, self-awareness, patience, and resilience becomes durable, strong, lasting. So the next time fear enters your mind, observe it. The next time stress rises, breathe through it. The next time life tests you, stand firm. Not because pressure disappears, because you are becoming stronger than the pressure itself. Chapter 8. The Power of Environment and Association. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jim Rohn. Look closely at your life. The way you think, the way you speak, the risks you avoid, the dreams you shrink before they even breathe. None of it formed in a vacuum. Human beings absorb atmosphere the way lungs pull in air. Your environment slides into your nervous system. Quietly, repeatedly, day after day. The room shapes the mind before the mind shapes the future. That is why some people stay trapped for years without understanding why. They keep sitting at tables where ambition gets mocked. They wake up and feed their brain fear before sunrise through endless noise, endless complaints, endless bad news. They spend time around people who speak about money with bitterness in their voice. People who act as though success belongs only to the lucky, the corrupt, or the chosen few. And after enough exposure, their fire cools. Not because they lack talent, because their atmosphere keeps pouring water on their spirit. You cannot soar while breathing smoke every day. Your environment is not decoration. It is conditioning. It trains your standards. It trains your expectations. It trains your emotional ceiling. If everybody around you lives in survival mode, survival starts feeling normal. If everybody around you complains, your brain learns complaint as a language. If everybody around you fears risk, your body begins to react to opportunity like danger. That conditioning digs deep into the subconscious mind. Deep, past logic, past intention. Your nervous system starts memorizing limitation like muscle memory. And that is deadly. A person can read books about wealth all morning, repeat affirmations all night, dream about freedom every weekend, then walk straight back into an environment built on fear and scarcity. Eventually, the environment wins. Atmosphere beats willpower when exposure becomes constant. This is why some people change their income the moment they change their circle. Not magic, exposure. A young man spends years around people who laugh at business ideas. Suddenly, he enters a room filled with builders, creators, problem solvers, disciplined thinkers. The shift hits his nervous system like electricity. New conversation stretches imagination. Bigger goals stop sounding insane. Action becomes normal. Momentum becomes contagious. One room can change your identity. Fast. Your brain is always scanning for what is acceptable. That is how human beings survive for thousands of years. We adapt to the tribe around us. We mirror behavior. We copy emotional patterns. We absorb language, posture, confidence, and belief systems without noticing. That means your circle either expands your future or shrinks it. There is no neutral environment. None. Even silence shapes you. Even the music you listen to shapes you. Even the content you consume shapes you. Every image, every voice, every repeated emotional experience leaves fingerprints on the mind. Your mental world becomes your emotional climate. Your emotional climate becomes your actions. Your actions become your financial reality. That cycle never stops. The people who rise into extraordinary wealth understand this at a bone-deep level. They guard their environment like a fortress. They protect their attention. They choose conversations with care. They refuse to sit too long in spaces that drain vision from the soul. Because negativity spreads fast. Fear is infectious. So is courage. You can feel it when you walk into certain rooms. One room feels heavy. Dead eyes, low energy, constant excuses. Another room crackles with life. Ideas move fast. Possibility hangs in the air like electricity before a storm. People speak about the future with certainty instead of dread. Your body knows the difference before your mind explains it. Energy speaks first. And if you stay long enough in a powerful environment, your identity begins to rebuild itself from the inside out. Your standards rise naturally. Discipline feels less forced. Action feels cleaner. Your mind stops fighting possibility. That is why isolation destroys so many dreams. Not physical isolation alone. Emotional isolation. Vision isolation. A person trapped around small thinking for too long starts apologizing for wanting more. They bury their hunger to fit in. They dim their light to avoid criticism. Slowly, they betray themselves. This happens every day. A woman wants to build a business, but everyone around her says it is unrealistic. A man wants financial freedom, but his friends mock every attempt at self-improvement. Someone wants to escape debt, yet their environment worships reckless spending and instant pleasure. The pressure crushes them from the inside, not because they are weak, because human beings are deeply influenced by repeated emotional exposure. Your environment feeds your identity every hour. That means you must become fiercely intentional about what enters your mind. Ruthless about it, not angry, not arrogant, just awake. You cannot keep feeding your brain poison and expect clear vision. You cannot spend 5 hours drowning in chaos online and expect inner peace. You cannot surround yourself with cynical people and expect bold faith. The mind absorbs whatever surrounds it most. Always, this is why protecting your mental space is an act of survival. Some people protect their wallet more than their mind, then wonder why their life stays stuck. But your mind is the engine. Your thoughts drive behavior. Your behavior drives results. Guard the engine. A wealthy environment does not always mean expensive places or luxury lifestyles. Some broke people carry richer energy than millionaires. A wealthy environment means possibility lives there. Discipline lives there. Responsibility lives there. Vision lives there. A tiny apartment filled with books, focused conversation, healthy routines, and burning ambition carries more power than a mansion filled with bitterness and emotional chaos. Never forget that. Atmosphere first. You must build spaces that pull the best out of you. Maybe that means cleaning the room where you work until it feels sharp and intentional. Maybe that means turning off voices that constantly spread panic. Maybe that means spending less time with people who drain your energy every time they speak. Hard truth. Not everyone can come with you. Some relationships are anchors tied to your ankles while you are trying to cross an ocean. Painful, but real. Growth changes your standards. Your standards change your relationships. And many people become uncomfortable the moment you stop agreeing with limitation. The moment you start thinking bigger, moving differently, demanding more from yourself. Insecure people feel exposed. Do not shrink to protect their comfort. Rise anyway. The fire inside you deserves oxygen. And understand this clearly. Association is not only physical. You associate with every voice you repeatedly consume. Podcasts, videos, music, books, social media, news, conversations. Your brain treats repeated exposure as truth. That means you are being programmed every single day. The question is simple. Who is programming your mind? Who is shaping your emotional state? Who is training your expectations? Because whatever repeatedly enters your mind eventually enters your identity. This is why high performers feed themselves powerful input with consistency. They study people who think at higher levels. They listen to voices that sharpen courage instead of feeding fear. They place themselves near builders, disciplined minds, creative spirits, and people who execute with conviction, not to impress anyone, to strengthen their nervous system. Exposure changes belief. A person who never sees wealth up close struggles to imagine it, but the moment they witness possibility in real life, something shifts internally. The wall cracks. The dream stops feeling imaginary. Suddenly the brain says, this can be done. That moment matters. It changes behavior, and behavior changes destiny. You do not need thousands of people around you. One strong connection can redirect your entire life. One mentor, one friend with vision, one conversation that ignites something sleeping inside you. History changes through association all the time. One spark starts a wildfire. Still, you must contribute energy too. Do not become someone who only takes inspiration without building discipline. Powerful circles reject emotional parasites. Bring effort, bring integrity, bring hunger, bring honesty, bring action. Become the kind of person strong people want around them. And if your current environment feels toxic, do not wait for rescue. Start rebuilding immediately, piece by piece, book by book, habit by habit, conversation by conversation. Protect your mornings. Protect your focus. Protect your emotional state. Little shifts become massive shifts over time. A new environment can begin with one decision. 1. The moment you stop feeding your mind weakness, your inner world starts changing. The moment you choose better conversations, your thinking sharpens. The moment you expose yourself to higher standards consistently, your identity begins stretching towards something greater. That is the hidden force behind wealth creation. Not luck, conditioning. The world around you is either pulling you upward like rising fire or dragging you downward like wet concrete tied to your chest. You feel it already. Deep down, you know which environments drain your spirit and which ones wake you up inside. Trust that feeling. Your future depends on it. The strongest trees grow in healthy soil. The strongest minds grow in powerful environments. Place yourself where vision breathes. Place yourself where discipline is normal. Place yourself where possibility feels alive in the air. Then watch what happens to your life. Watch how your standards rise. Watch how your courage expands. Watch how your mind begins reaching for bigger outcomes without fear choking the process. Because once your environment changes, your identity begins changing. And once your identity changes, your financial reality follows behind it like thunder after lightning. The fire is yours now. Protect it. Chapter 9. Becoming the person who naturally attracts wealth. The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes. William James. There comes a moment in every real transformation where the question changes. At first you ask, how do I make more money? Then life hits you hard enough, long enough, and your eyes begin to open. You start seeing that money alone fixes very little inside a wounded mind. A person can earn more and still feel empty. They can build income while carrying fear in their chests like chains made of iron. They can reach success publicly while collapsing privately. Then the deeper question rises from the soul. Who must I become? That question changes everything. Because wealth is not merely something you chase. Real wealth is something your identity learns to hold. If your inner world remains weak, chaotic, insecure, and emotionally unstable, money slips through your hands like water through broken concrete. You sabotage opportunities. You panic under pressure. You shrink after setbacks. You return to old habits because your nervous system still feels loyal to the old version of you. Identity always pulls life back toward what feels familiar. Always. A person who secretly believes they are unworthy of success will destroy progress without realizing it. They will hesitate at the edge of opportunity. They will undercharge. They will procrastinate. They will accept disrespect. They will fear visibility. They will shrink their dreams to fit their self-image. Not because they are stupid, because the subconscious mind fights to protect identity consistency. Your brain wants familiar before it wants freedom. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar greatness. That is why becoming rich starts long before money arrives. It starts in the unseen places. The way you think when nobody claps for you. The way you carry yourself when life feels heavy. The standards you hold when temptation whispers in your ear. The promises you keep to yourself in silence. That is where wealth begins forming beneath the surface, like fire building under steel. You do not rise into a wealthy life accidentally. You rise into it by becoming emotionally strong enough to sustain it. Discipline becomes part of your character. Confidence stops depending on outside approval. Your mind stops panicking every time uncertainty appears. You stop living from emotional impulse and start living from deliberate intention. That shift changes your entire reality. Because money responds to behavior. Behavior responds to identity. And identity responds to repeated thoughts, repeated actions, repeated emotional patterns. The cycle feeds itself. This is why temporary motivation is never enough. Excitement fades. Emotion rises and falls like weather. One bad week can destroy shallow commitment. One rejection can send insecure people running back into comfort. But identity stays. A disciplined person keeps moving when motivation disappears. A focused person keeps building when results arrive slowly. A grounded person stays calm while others collapse into panic. That inner stability attracts opportunity because stable people make stronger decisions. They think clearly under pressure. They build trust. They solve problems instead of becoming problems. And problem solvers always rise. Look at the people who create lasting wealth. Not fake success. Not loud success. Real success. The kind built over decades. They carry a certain energy. Calm, decisive, focused. They are not thrown around emotionally every 5 minutes. They do not quit because life gets uncomfortable. Their identity is rooted deeper than temporary emotion. That depth matters. The world trusts people who trust themselves. You can feel it instantly. Some people enter a room carrying doubt like smoke around their body. Others walk in with grounded certainty. Not arrogance, not noise, presence. Their energy says, I can handle pressure. I can create value. I can recover from setbacks. That emotional signal changes how people respond to them. And here's a truth many people avoid. Self-worth affects financial reality more than skill alone. A person with low self-worth struggles to receive abundance cleanly. They feel guilty charging for value. They fear success will make others reject them. They sabotage progress the moment life begins improving because struggle feels emotionally familiar. The nervous system always tries returning to what it knows. So if you want lasting wealth, you must build a new internal normal. You must train your mind to feel comfortable with responsibility, success, visibility, and abundance. Not through fantasy, through repetition, through action, through daily alignment between your vision and your behavior. You become what you repeatedly practice. That means your habits are shaping your future identity every single day. Every promise you break weakens self-trust. Every excuse feeds weakness. Every act of discipline strengthens the architecture of your character. Brick by brick, choice by choice. You are building someone. The question is, who? A person does not become wealthy merely by earning more. They become wealthy by developing the emotional capacity to hold more pressure, more responsibility, more uncertainty, more opportunity, more influence. Weak minds collapse under increased responsibility. Strong minds expand. That strength is built in ordinary moments. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing tasks without needing applause. Controlling emotion during frustration. Staying focused while distractions scream for attention. Those moments look small. They are not small. They are identity construction. And once your identity changes, your decisions change automatically. You stop chasing validation from people who do not matter. You stop wasting years trying to impress people who are lost themselves. You stop treating money like an emotional drug. You stop buying things to cover insecurity. Instead, you start building a life that actually feels rich. Peace becomes wealth. Freedom becomes wealth. Time becomes wealth. Health becomes wealth. Self-respect becomes wealth. A clear mind becomes wealth. Because what good is money if your nervous system lives in chaos? What good is status if your spirit feels hollow? What good is success if you secretly hate the person staring back from the mirror? Real riches carry wholeness, and that wholeness comes from alignment. Your actions match your values. Your habits match your vision. Your private life matches your public image. That kind of integrity creates power inside a human being. Deep power. The kind no market crash can steal. The kind rejection cannot destroy. The kind hardship cannot easily shake. You become internally wealthy first. Then the outer world starts catching up. This does not mean life becomes easy. No, storms still come. Failure still comes. Betrayal still comes. Fear still visits sometimes. Even strong people bleed. Even focused people get tired. But now you recover faster. That is the difference. You no longer collapse every time life punches you in the mouth. You adapt. You learn. You rebuild. Your identity stops breaking under pressure because it has been forged through discipline and truth, like steel hammered in fire. Most people spend years chasing results while ignoring the person creating the results. That is backwards. The inner world creates the outer world. Your thoughts shape behavior. Your behavior shapes patterns. Your patterns shape destiny. Change the person, and the results begin changing naturally. This is why long-term thinking matters so much. Fast money built on weak character disappears quickly. A person without discipline burns through opportunity. A person without emotional control destroys relationships. A person without vision drifts into distraction and waste. Temporary success means nothing if your habits pull you backward afterward. You need permanence, roots, inner structure. That requires patience. It requires emotional maturity. It requires choosing future rewards over immediate comfort again and again until excellence becomes part of your nervous system. And listen carefully. Abundance is not greed. Greed comes from emptiness. Abundance comes from expansion. A truly wealthy person creates value. They contribute. They solve problems. They lift standards. They build things that improve lives. Wealth becomes an extension of service instead of desperation. That mindset changes the emotional relationship with money completely. Money stops becoming proof of worth. It becomes fuel for purpose. That is freedom. You stop begging life for permission to rise. You stop waiting for rescue. You stop acting like your past owns your future. The old identity begins dying. The fearful identity. The insecure identity. The identity addicted to excuses, delay, and emotional chaos. And a new self emerges from the ashes. Stronger, sharper, clearer. You begin carry yourself differently because you know transformation is no longer a dream. It is happening inside you in real time. Your standards rise. Your discipline deepens. Your vision strengthens. Your environment changes. Your actions sharpen. And slowly, almost quietly, wealth begins moving toward you because you finally became the kind of person who can create it, sustain it, and multiply it. That is the real science of getting rich. Not tricks. Not luck. Not empty motivation. Identity. The greatest financial breakthrough of your life will happen the moment your inner world stops arguing with the future you desire. The moment your habits, emotions, standards, and beliefs move in the same direction, your life gains force like a river breaking through a dam. Nothing stays the same after that. Nothing. So stand tall now. Breathe deeply. Look at the life you want without fear. Then become the person capable of carrying it with strength, wisdom, discipline, and purpose. Not someday. Now. The future belongs to the person you decide to become today. Conclusion. Wealth is first an inner game. Most people spend years searching for external answers to internal limitations. They believe more money will automatically create peace, confidence, freedom, or fulfillment. But lasting wealth is rarely built from the outside inward. It is built from the inside outward. The thoughts you repeat daily become beliefs. Beliefs become behaviors. Behaviors become habits. Habits become destiny. The principles in this audiobook are not temporary motivational techniques. They are foundational laws of human performance, emotional conditioning, and wealth creation. When applied consistently, they reshape how you think, decide, act, and respond to opportunity. The world often teaches people to fear scarcity, compete desperately, and doubt their potential. But the truly wealthy learn a different way to live. They think creatively. They act intentionally. They master emotions instead of being controlled by them. They understand that abundance begins with internal alignment. Money is important, but the person you become while creating wealth matters even more. Because the greatest transformation is not simply becoming rich. It is becoming powerful, disciplined, peaceful, valuable, and free. And once that transformation happens internally, external wealth often becomes a natural result.